Hey guys, Serac here, and today we're going to look at Tri-Brigade-Spright on a budget. This deck was inspired by Yishan and Rev's builds of the deck, with obviously I've trimmed some of the cards in it to try fit it under a £200 budget. I've also included the price in dollars for the first time as well, using roughly TCG mid-player prices. I will generally be using pounds, but I'll put the prices up in dollars as well for any US viewers. Also, if you like the content, please remember to like and subscribe. But without further ado, let's get into it. To start off, we have 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Fractal. Now, Fractal shares the same effect that all the Tri-Brigades do. When it is on the field, you can banish any number of Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast cards from your graveyard, and then summon one Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast card from your extra deck Link monster, with the link rating equal to the number of cards banished. So obviously this is how you generate advantage with these cards, because you don't need to spend the cards themselves to link summon. You spend cards already in your graveyard. This deck works well with sprites because there's lots of level 2s involved. Then the other thing that Fractal has is you can send it from your hand or field to the graveyard and then mill one Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast from your deck to the graveyard. It's also a Beast Warrior, so it's searchable off Tenki. Next, we have 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Kit, fresh off its reprint, and now at a measly £1 each. This level 2 Beast, which is obviously very relevant for sprites, can mill any Tri-type from the deck to the graveyard when it goes to the graveyard, and also has the standard Tri-type effect from banishing cards from the graveyard. Obviously, it's very, very relevant now, being a level 2 Beast, which means it's summonable off both Rescue Cat, Gigantic Sprite, and Sprite Elf for constant plays. We next have 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Carrot. Now, Carrot used to be ran at 2. I've put it at 3 simply because we now need more access to level 2s. Carrot has the ability that it can discard one of the Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beasts, and then special summon itself from the hand. And then it has the same ability that the other Tri-Brigades have as well. Obviously, again, very, very useful to have the higher ratio of level 2s in this deck for access from Gigantic Sprite, Sprite Elf, and to make those Sprite plays. And obviously, if you use Starter or Elf, or Gigantic, then you have to lock yourself into level, rank, and link 2s. Next, we have 3 copies of Tri-Brigade Nerval. Nerval has the same Tri-Brigade effect, and also when it goes to the graveyard, it can search any Tri-Brigade monster from your deck to your hand, except itself. Again, very, very useful card. Some decks are cutting this down to 2, running it at 3 because it's one of the cheaper components of the deck, and we always need a critical mass of Tri-Brigade cards to make plays. For our non-Tri-Brigades, we have 3 Rescue Cats. Obviously, this card is incredibly good for any Tri-Brigade, getting 2 Beasts out of the deck. Obviously, remember, it does negate the effects. I just happen to be using older versions of Rescue Cat because that's what I own. But this card is otherwise very, very good. It gets 2 Beasts out of the deck, so it gets you a Kit and a Chaos immediately. Then you can obviously go into Sprite plays if you want by making Gigantic Sprite, or you can go into Tri-Brigade plays if you have cards in hand to extend further. Just remember, be careful with this card. Do not use it unless you can back it up with something like Gamma. For our Sprite package, we have 1 copy of Sprite Blue. We need 1 copy, I'm afraid. It is expensive. You do need 1 copy minimum. We are playing 3 starter, so we can find it. Blue lets us search for any sprite, and if you control a level or rank 2, we can special summon it from our hand. Obviously, this is the main core of the Sprite package, and just look at the ridiculous amount of drip he has. That's the most important fact. We then have 3 copies of Sprite Jet. Jet has the same summoning condition as Blue, allows it to summon itself if you have a level or rank 2 monster, and then you get to search for a sprite, spell, or trap. Obviously, normally we're searching Smashers, but we can also search Starter if we need to. Smashers giving us some more removal options, and Starter giving some more extension and leads to negation. The final 2 sprites, we're playing 1 apiece of Sprite Carrot and Sprite Red. Red is a monster negate, and Carrot is a spell trap negate. Just remember, you have to send a different card. They can't send themselves. they have to send a different card. So they have to remain on the field to negate something. But other than that, very flexible, allows you to tailor your end board to what you need, depending on what you have access to, and also they're very, very nice extenders, considering the amount of Link and level 2 monsters we play. We're then playing the Gamma package. This is to protect our rescue cat from going off, from things like Ash and so on. Very, very important that if we open with a rescue cat, that we allow it to resolve, and it also helps us going second by being what can be a very, very strong turn-ending hand trap. For our spells, we play 2 Tenki. This lets us search copies of Fractal. There's not a huge amount more that needs to be said about that. Obviously, it's very, very strong, letting us search Fractal. Next, we have 3 Sprite Starter. Gets us any Sprite monster from our deck, but we lose life points equal to its attack. Do remember to lose that life points. It will come up, and you will lose games in time because of it if you're not careful. Then, after it resolves, you are locked into level, link, or rank 2 monsters. So remember, it's after it resolves, not before. It's for the rest of the turn. So you can do what you want, but once you've activated Starter or Gigantic Sprite, you are locked. Sometimes we open with this, sometimes we end with it, depending on whether we need to add it off jet, or we want smashers, or what we want to achieve with the M board. But very, very flexible card, and a very nice piece of extension for us. We're playing 2 copies of Sprite Smashers. Now, Smashers is really, really good because obviously it's a non-targeting out to things. We play a good number of sprites and level, rank, and link 2s, so we can pretty much always make this live. And we'll play the 2 copies because we search it throughout most of our combos, but also we don't mind putting cards back because most of the Tri-Brigade stuff puts stuff back. So it just gives us a blank card that we can put back without needing to put back a copy of more interruptions that we can hold. 3 copies of Forbidden Chalice. This is our monster effect negation. It could be imperm, it could be a whole host of other things. Chalice is nice and cheap, and this deck is not the cheapest of my budget decks, so do be aware of that fact. If you own imperms, feel free to put them in. Chalice can be better in some situations, like being able to be activated in the damage step, or being able to activate on your turn when you have something on the field. So if your opponent tries to bring back a toad or something like that, you can then stop it with Chalice, even though you're midway through your plays. Unlike Imperm, where you have to control no cards. 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More. This is the best board breaking card in the game at the moment. It lets you just do what you want with impunity. It's the other reason people are playing cards like Smashers so much, because Dark Ruler No More is everywhere, so having an extra interruption that doesn't lose to Dark Ruler is very, very useful. We then round the deck off with some power one-offs, so 3 cards. We have 1 Foolish Burial, which of course lets us mill any of our Tri-Brigades to the graveyard, and therefore setting off our plays that way. So we mill Kit, we mill Keras, we mill Nerval, we add Keras, and we can go off that way. 1 Call by the Grave, because this deck does not like hand traps, and yes, they aren't as prominent as they have been in the past, but it's still very, very useful. And if all you're using Call by the Grave for to hit hand traps, you are playing it wrong. Call by the Grave is a phenomenally powerful card. It is about 3 different cards in one, and should be used as such, and with the respect that it commands, and it probably should be banned. And finally, to finish off our main deck, we have 1 copy of TriBrigade Revolt. This is obviously the most infamous Tri-Brigade card. It gives you an extra banish on your opponent's turn by summoning Shuraig, and then Shuraig is obviously a big beater in its own regard, as well as giving you a search when it goes to the bin. Most of our combos, again, go through Bearbrum, allowing us to easily search this card out of our deck. For the extra deck, we begin with 2 copies of Tri-Brigade Shuraig. Shuraig, when it's special summoned, allows you to banish 1 card on the field, does not target, just remember that. And if it goes to the graveyard, you get to search for 1 Tri-Brigade type, so Beast, Winged Beast, Beast Warrior, whose level is less than or equal to the number banished, and add it to your hand. Very, very powerful card. It helps you end the game, its interruption, and its extension. It does pretty much everything you need for the deck. Tri-Brigade Ferrigite, the Baron Blossom, is your primary link to Tri-Brigade. It lets you special summon one beast, beast warrior, or winged beast from your hand, which is very helpful for extension when you've used Keras and you have them clogging up your hand. Remember, it doesn't have to summon a Tri-Brigade, it can summon any beast, beast warrior, or winged beast. And then if it goes to the graveyard, you get to cycle a card out of your hand, so draw one and put one on the bottom of your deck. Ideal if you've got rid of doubles, or you've gone through your smashers, but you already drew a smashers, so you can then easily put it back. Some people play the Masquerader engine for this sort of thing. I've chosen not to play that in this deck. One Tri-Brigade Bearbrum the Rampant Rampager. Bearbrum is primarily here to search your copy of Revolt. Remember, once you search Revolt with Bearbrum, you are locked out of anything but Tri-Brigade monsters. Again, be very careful with how this deck extra deck locks you. It does it in a number of different ways through the Sprite cards and the Tri-Brigade cards. And also has a nice effect where you can discard 2 cards and then target one banished level 4 or lower beast, beast warrior, or winged beast and special summon it. So it can give you a bit more recursion in a pinch if you need it and have the cards to spare. We then play one Tri-Brigade Rugel the Silver Sheller. This can quick effect summon a level 4 or lower beast, beast warrior, or winged beast from your hand or graveyard and negate its effects, and then return it to the hand, so it can give you some cards back, and can also lower the attack of opponent's monsters for each monster type you control. Sometimes comes up, is mainly a flex spot. Some people don't play Rugel anymore. I think it's very useful because sometimes you do need to make a link 3 with the Tri-Brigades. For our generic summons for end pieces, we have Ancient Warrior's Oath, Double Dragon Lords. This is a quick effect bounce, obviously one of the most powerful cards in the Tri-Brigade engine. Just adding an extra bounce to the end board is really, really strong, especially in a place where we don't want to destroy things. One Resvelga, the Desperate Doom Eagle. This allows us to shuffle cards from the graveyard into their deck, which can be really, really strong against things like Tyr. Just remember, don't use this if they have the field spell active, because they will pop your cards. But it's also very useful for any targeting stuff in the graveyard or anything similar like that. One Scarecrow Lightheart. This is an awful card, but it is a Link 1 Beast Warrior, which means we can summon it, which means now we can combo off with much fewer names than we used to. Sprite Elf. What is there to say about Sprite Elf that hasn't already been said? This card is ridiculously strong. It allows us to extend on our turn. It gives us extra interruptions on our opponent's turn by bringing things like IP Masquerader back. It can be used to make Gigantic Sprite if you need to, which then allows you access to more stuff from your deck. Half your Tri-Brigades are level 2, so you can bring them back for further plays. Half your Tri-Brigade Link monsters are Link 2, so you can bring them back for further plays. The card just does everything that the deck needs, and the Sprite package is so strong and so splashable. Just remember that you can only summon Link or rank 2s if your opponent controls a monster, and also it cannot be used as Link material the turn it is summoned. Remember that. Can't be used as Link material. Can be used as Xyz material for Gigantic Sprite though. And speaking of Gigantic Sprite, here he is. He summons a level 2 from the deck. He becomes a big chunga, so you use Sprite Elf or any other Link 2 to make him, and he locks you out of anything above level 2. Again, remember that. But he also locks your opponent, so if you use him early, it can Nibiru-proof your combo. Most of the time, he'll be giving you access to the Sprite part of your engine, unless you open with things like Starter. But other than that, he can obviously be made later through use of Sprite Elf, allowing you to access that at the end of your combo as well. So you can go through him early or late, depending on what you need. We then have Pit Knight Early. This is a very interesting card. It's a common from Power of the Elements with a really nice effect, and it's a Link 2. So it makes our life a lot easier to summon it when we're using things like the Sprites. And the most important part about it is it has a nice quick effect. When you activate a monster effect, you get to negate an effect and change its attack to 0, which can be really useful in obviously nullifying the battle phase and just providing that extra bit of disruption on top of your Sprite Elf. It also comes back if it's destroyed by battle or card effect. 1 IP Masquerader, still a fantastic link too. IP into Unicorn is still a classic, and guess what? We're playing it. Remember, it also protects the thing it summons from card effects. You can summon Elf with this. You can use it to summon Gigantic Sprite as well, but I don't know why you would. And then Elf can obviously revive this, and then you can link off with it on your opponent's turn. 1 Nightmare Unicorn, this is our IP Masquerader target. Some people play Appaloosa. We're playing Nightmare Unicorn because it's significantly cheaper, and it's still good. Again, it's a non-destroying removal spell. And then finally, to round out the extra deck, we have 1 Salomon Great Mirage. This card is a necessary evil. Again, it allows us to combo off with very few Tri-Brigades, hands where we've just drawn a kit or just a Nerval. We can at least start the ball rolling there. And that's what makes it so strong in that regard. So that is the deck. I really hope you enjoyed it, and we'll bring some combos up for you to have a look at now. So here's the very basic 1-card Sprite starter combo that ends with Smashers, Pit Knight, Elf, and an active Revolt. So we start off by activating the copy of Sprite Starter. The driver in hand is just there as a blank card that we put back at the end when we use the Bear Brim effect. So Starter activates and fetches us a copy of Blue. And then Blue activates and gets us a copy of Jet. We summon the Jet, and Jet searches us our copy of Smashers. We then make Gigantic Sprite, and use that to summon the kit. Remember, we are now locked into level, link, and rank 2 monsters. Oops, apologies for that. So we then link both of those off into Sprite Elf. Kit triggers, dumping Nerval, and Nerval triggers to add back Fractal. Then we can use Elf to summon out the kit. We use Fractal just to dump itself and a Keras to the bin, so we have enough names around to make a live Revolt. And then we banish any two of the Tri-Brigades to summon a copy of Bear Brim. We link those off into Pit Knight early, and then Bear Brim triggers and adds us the Revolt, and we put back any of the cards in our hand. So we've, from 1 card and a card to return to the deck, we've ended up with a Disruption from Pit Knight early, Extension for the next turn from Sprite Blue or from Sprite Jet, searching a starter or another sprite. We have Revolt to make Sure Egg, and that will obviously recycle our Tri-Brigade names, allowing us to fill the graveyard more and search more pieces to normal summon the next turn. And we also have Sprite Smashers for a banishing out to anything. So that is the very basic 1-card Sprite starter combo for this deck. Hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon.